Test, 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 test. Are we live yet? And actually, I think I am going to, there we go. I'm going to kind of step to the side because I have to kind of look at the screen. One of the reasons I had that whole thing here was because I was hoping to have the screen in front of me so I could just stay facing you guys. But this way, I'll be able to see that and talk to you guys at the same time, sort of. Yeah, just look at the pictures. Very good. All right. So, ready to go there, Brian? Let's open in prayer. Father God, I just thank you. Thank you for this body, this family that I have here, that I can share my adventures with you, Lord, that you're taking me on, and Lord, that they can share with me. And I thank you for their support. I thank you for just the joy I have in having a family to come home to and to share the things that happened. Pray that you bless this time, allow us to be encouraged by seeing what you're doing and what you've got lined out ahead of us. I pray that you bless the time, bless the fellowship that we have over this slideshow. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. So, Darryls Adventures. It was a long run. But I'm just going to take you through chronologically what I did and try and hit the high points. As I said, there were over 1,000 pictures. I narrowed it down to 100 or so. So we've got maybe 10% of the pictures. But I also have to go fast, otherwise we'll be here all night. So onward. So now I've got to get the clicker to work again. Do I have? There we go. For those of you who didn't see this, this is my trip. We started off in Kalispell, and then flew over to Seattle, and then from Seattle, I flew to I flew over here to Paris, France, and then from Paris, I flew down to Mali, and you'll see my first sighting of Africa is as I go across here, right into this area. The clouds cleared, and I got to see Africa for the first time. So there it is. And then this is as we came into Mali. We landed there and sat for 45 minutes on tarmac. Then I got to go to Liberia and Monrovia and got to meet Don and Mel. Real blessing to meet them. They were just an awesome, awesome couple. I love their heart and really enjoyed the time that we had together. Took us to the top-ranked hotel in the area. It's 100 yards from the airport entrance. So that's where all the high-end folks go, including the president. He was there one of the 3 times I was there. And then some secretary of state or something came in also. So this is the big spot to go. Well, I had this room, had one of them funny little side sinks in the restroom area. No, I did not use it. While we were there, I got my first introduction to the clinic. So Don was asking me what I knew about clinics and structural things, and we kind of got into the discussion that they had received a bunch of money. He put this together on his computer, no dimensions, just sketching it. And he said, can you help me with some layout on this thing? So I said, that'll be great. We'll look at that later. Next morning we took off. This is a portion of our 4-hour drive, just driving through the bush country of Africa. We're going, if I go back, I'm going to go back here to my, I don't know how to do that faster, but this picture right here. So when we land here, we're driving over to the other side of Liberia. So this is Guinea, and Guinea is the one, they had a civil, what they call coup. They had a coup, a military coup, I guess. So it was chaos on the border. And Banga is right next to the border. So there was some concern about how stable it was going to be when we got there. But I never saw any issues with it. But bottom line, that was our 4-hour trip. So we're going from here across the country is 4 hours. So if you figure 4 hours drive around here, we were crossing an entire country. The roads weren't quite as good as Montana's, though. They were more like our logging roads. So I figured Luke would be real at home wandering around on the logging roads. This is what it looked like when we got into Banga. Again, Banga is a regional, the largest village in the region. So they have the main paved road that runs through it. And then as soon as you turn off that, you're on dirt. There are no other paved roads. But the president was there. And so we couldn't even get into town. The president had turned off on one of their dirt roads and locked the whole town up. So we had to sit there for half an hour trying to just get into town. Once we got into town, we rolled around the backside. This is the driveway to the Rileys. Kind of looks like African jungle, doesn't it? Everything over there is just lush and green. This is their place. So this is the main office for Hope for Home, that screen porch. Right back here is a back office and the place that I end up staying. This is the house. So my office is right over there, and where I'm staying, this is the Riley's house. There's 9 of them staying there. This is their yard. Beautiful looking stuff. All kinds of nifty creatures running around out there. You'll see this tree here in a little while. So this is going into my office. So we have the juvenile ducks and turkeys are here. The adult ducks are here. Chickens are on the backside, along with the turkeys and the goats and you name it. They got some antelope. I was going to bring one home for Lindsay, but they wouldn't let me. We'll see a picture of them, but they're pretty cute. So this is the back office. As you can see, it's just screened, and all the animals are right around there. So I definitely had a farm feel. I grew up on a farm. I'm used to that. And I was actually blessed. Those turkeys, who can be very loud, and they come right up to the window, didn't do anything until after sunrise. And I was usually up by 4:30, and sunrise was around 6. So that was great. I could sleep through the night. So there again is the yard out there, and the juvenile kind of pen here. So this is the door into my my abode. This is it's really nice, well laid out. Lots of space. I didn't use anything because I'm a bachelor, so I used that little spot right there, and that was it. Besides laying down, that's all I did in that place. So it worked out well. That's the hallway. Here on the right is the bathroom, and so we had a little shower where I met one of my roommates, and sink. There's lots of little critters on the floor. That's one of the reasons I think that they have everything white, because you can see the critters easier. So this is my first night. This guy's in the back of my headboard, and he's probably about 2 inches in diameter. And he is so fast that I went to, I'm like, he's not sleeping with me, so I reached down, bam, he's gone. I mean, as soon as I came over the edge, he was gone, and I didn't even see where he went. So then about an hour later, I got up and looked, and he was back up there and disappeared as soon as I went for him. So I just kind of decided, as long as he runs away from me, we're good. This guy was on the wall. In the middle of the night, I saw something on the wall, and I'm thinking it was my spider buddy, so I got my flashlight out, and bam, he was there. Boom, he was gone. He's almost as fast as a spider. I don't think, relative size, I think the spider was probably about that big. So he only had tail length on him. That was, of quite the jaunt. This is Susie unpacked her goodies, all the stuff that we brought. So 200 pounds worth of stuff. No, you do not see any chocolate in there. These are not the chocolates you're looking for. So there are a few pounds of chocolate in there, along with things for her girls and the Bible studies and stuff. So it was a real exciting thing for her. She laid that out in her apartment and sent me a picture. Next morning, this is Bible study. So this is a staff Bible study, and I think I told you guys, those who were here that on Sunday, Don does an hour-long Bible study with his family every morning from 7 to 8. He does an hour-long Bible study with staff or the community from 8 to 9 every day. He's a pastor, right? So he's got to be talking about the Lord, but it's just awesome. Susie's namesake, this is little Susie. So she was named after Susie, and she came to visit for the Bible study. And now I just turned something off or did something. I don't know what I did. It's not changing now. Okay. Oh, then we took a little drive, and we went off to see the compound where his safe haven, the special needs compound is, out in the jungle, not too far away, maybe 20 minutes. This is their current medical clinic. That's just plywood and some screen and a couple 2x4s with screen wrapped around it, and that's where they distribute all their meds. So they have people lined up. There's a driveway goes down this way about 250 yards down that way, and there's people lined up on that during the week when they open up. So they're distributing. Their philosophy is they provide for anybody under 18 for free. So that's their MO, and it creates a little bit of a crowd. So this is Don's 3 adopted kids. Abby, Annie, and Abby. So if that's not confusing, but they're great kids. I really enjoyed them. Had a lot of fun with them. They were just a joy to be around. So our clinic is right over here. This is the guard shack. This is the cook shack. And in the cook shack, they have this massive concrete eco stove system. And it's basically just a solid concrete thing with a grate in it, and that grate, underneath the grate is an opening that goes out to open air. So the air comes through that opening, through the coals, and heats up all of that concrete. And they just stick huge pots in the concrete. So it's basically hot all day long, and they just cook there. Kind of an interesting mechanism. When I got to EMI, they're doing studies on how to improve that process, but that's working for them. This is the current medical center. So we have the housing for inpatient beds here. This is where the pharmacy and stuff is. We'll just go inside a second here. There's the pharmacy. So that little room back there is where they keep all the drugs and stuff. And then they parse them out right here. This is the beds for inpatient when they have somebody that they have to keep overnight. So that's what they've got now. What we're designing is over 8,000 square feet, so significant increase. As a matter of fact, what we're looking at is going to be as big or bigger than anything else they have in the entire country. So it's quite an undertaking. This is their cafeteria for his safe haven. So the moms and their kids all come in. They have a table, assigned table. They're supposed to clean it and basically bust their table and serve their table. And so they come in as a family, eat as a family, and then they go out. From there, there's a play area right in front. So that dining area is right here. Then this is a play area. It's got a padded floor. And then there's a yard out here. when you go out in the yard, then the houses are around the perimeter of the yard. They've got swimming swings and just play areas and stuff for them to be out on there. So lots of open space. Every house has a open porch, and they spend quite a bit of their time there because it's sheltered. They've got the screens around it. They're sheltered from the sun, and so the kids can be safe in there. They're away from critters on the ground and things like that. So we went in and visited all the homes there, get to see the kids and how they're being cared for. They have their menus and stuff and all their schedules lined up. So this is Susie and the property where she's building the house that we are helping fund. So that spot right there, I talked to Susie today. They're working on clearing all the ground. So that's where they're at, the process of clearing it. This little guy was on the road as we were going. So anybody notices, I don't know, he can't see the colors real well, but that's black and red. So anything that's black and red in Africa, you leave alone. It's not something that you want to juggle with. So I put my foot next to it, and they said, stay away from that. I said, oh, okay. So I took the picture and then moved my foot. But apparently they're somewhat aggressive. I don't think he would have got me through my shoe, but maybe he would have. I don't know. I'm not going to take any chances. So I must be holding or hitting or doing something on this thing. Abracadabra. Thank you. So Lisa's back there just keeping me safe. Thanks for being my buffer there, Lisa. So this is the space where we're putting the clinic. It's currently at about 220 feet long. So it just stretches across this cleared space and down over the edge just a little bit. So looking forward to seeing where they go with that. This is Susie's rental that she's renting right now. And Rebecca, her compatriot, lives in this house. So Susie's renting this house. And this is the place where they have the M1014. So I went back over, and you can see we're parked right there where I took the first picture. This is where they do the M1014. The girls come in from the town and bring their babies in there, and that's where they do the weighing and all that stuff. So we'll see that here in a second. This is the one I touched base on Sunday that really hit me, the family that lost everybody. So this is Ebola Survivors. There were approximately in 2014, I think, or 15, there were approximately 32 kids that were left in this family. And then there's Grandma is sitting right here. Grandpa was inside, but they're not a married grandma and grandpa. They're just in the lineage of all these kids. And so they just took care of the kids. They lost all their families. So a bunch of younger kids, apparently their immune systems were stronger and able to handle it, and all the adults went down. So they've had a tough time in Africa and in most third world countries. If you've got disease or you've got deformity or you've got anything like that, then you're bad. You're evil. You're cursed. And so people don't want to be with you. They don't want to allow you to interact with their kids or do work or buy things from them. So basically, you're ostracized completely. So this group of 30-some kids with 2 adults trying to support them was completely ostracized, and they had lost all hope. They had no way to go, nowhere to go, no way to get anything to eat. So they were just going to have to sit there and watch their kids die. Don was able to help them out, so that's been 5 years, 6 years now that he's been working with them, and they're doing pretty well. There's life challenges, but it was just neat to see how they're reaching out. Grandma, and she cooked up a little pot of rice and greens and asked us to share, and I was like, good grief, these guys are starving. I'm not going to take their food. And they said, no, you have to, because it's a deep offense if you don't share their food. So I just got lectured on that today on the phone too, because I was asking, well, what did I do on this day when this happened? Well, you were handed food, Darryl, and you tried to hand it to somebody else, and that is an offense. Don't do that. Oh, okay. I thought, you're being polite. Somebody hands you food, and you turn around like, who else needs food? And I got my hand slapped just about. I'm like, okay, I'll eat. So little tiny things like that. But anyway, so Grandma wanted us to eat, and we sat and ate, and kind of everybody took a taste or two, and then we talked and left the food for the family. None of the kids even came close to the table. So it's very much elder-driven society. So, oh, hey, Lindsay, here's your baby. I think I had somebody else bidding for the baby to come home with me also, so I had a couple notes. Can you bring one of those home for me? They do have several of them, so apparently the Riley kids in particular are the animal first aid crew. So they have, in all those pens with all the turkeys and chickens and goats, they have several antelope and several other wild animals that they end up picking up and taking care of. So that was fun. So here's my office. I was up in the shed, and I said, Don said, well, you get better reception if you go out underneath I don't remember what they call it. It's a mango. Oh, they call it a plum tree, but it's a mango tree, right? So there's mangoes hanging right there. Wow. I said, well, that sounds like fun. Go down there, set up my computer, and I'm working away, and a little bug comes crawling up. It's an ant. I just flicked it off. And one of the kids comes over, and I go, I think you got ants or something. He goes, oh, yeah, those are fire ants. Don't let them bite you. It's just that casual. Like, oh, okay. So I'm sitting here like I'd gotten tired of flicking them off, and I was just squishing them. And so apparently I was fast enough to squish them, but you don't want to get bit. They say it hurts for about 3 days. So I decided, you know what? I don't really want to sit here, because you could be sitting there and scooch over and sit on an ant and not know it, and then know it, and I didn't want to do that. So anyway, I ended up not taking advantage of the lush green mango tree shade, moved back to my office. So this is Rebecca. She has a ministry to this orphan family. So from the war, and so she started taking in kids and bringing them to her house and taking care of them, and then getting support from people, and ended up with around 200 orphans from the war. So she's been taking care of these kids. That was a few years back, but she's maintained the orphanage and keeps the kids going. So Rebecca has it's basically like an advanced Good News Club. They have memory verses, so they have to have their memory verses. If they get their memory verses, they get prizes. They do singing. They do some little word games that they play, and then they get to play soccer. So soccer was why I was invited. Darryl, you referee, right? Could you come and referee a soccer game? I'm like, okay. Didn't know what I was in for. This is the boys doing their, and you can see this little guy right here. He was very intense. He had to get his verses down. He had 5 verses that he had to write out. I mean, he had to write it down 5 times. And so he was writing those down real quick. These are the 2 kids young men that are basically their leaders. They come in with Becky and help out. They're really, really neat young men. And this is the crew after we played soccer. You'll notice the nice manicured lawn here. It looks about like an alfalfa field after you get done mowing it, like rough, ragged stuff. I was running around in these shoes as a ref with socks, and my legs were bleeding. They're running around, for the most part, barefoot, at speed, kicking each other. I didn't see any blood. And as I mentioned on Sunday, they have a different way of approaching a ball that goes out of bounds. And down here in kids' sport, when we kick the ball and it goes out of bounds, you just run over, grab the ball. They go run over to where the grass gets tall, and then they slow down and they start going like this. make sure that they're not stepping on anything or interfering with somebody else's daily slither. So they had a lot of fun. I think they played for almost 2 hours. I was soaking wet because I was trying to run with them. And so that was, and these two guys, I was like, hold it, there's something going on. These guys just stood on the sideline. So I'm running like a bandit up and down the field, and they're just standing there. It's out over here. It's out over here. Okay, that's why they got the white guy. We get home. AB found a pet. That is, it was probably about a 5-inch scorpion. They move pretty slow for the most part. If you get them in the defensive mode, they go slow. They can run pretty fast, but if you get them in the defensive mode, they go slow because they get their claws up and they're going like this, and they got their tail up. So he said, that's real easy. You just wave something at them. They go into defensive mode, and then you go over and chop their stinger off. So that's what he did. Chopped the stinger off, and he let it live. I'm not sure if that was just pure sadism or what, but I was like, why don't you just put it out of its misery? He goes, no, I'm going to let it be. Okay. So we got to see the darker side of AB. One of the guys came up. Apparently, the white missionary is the place to bring your wild animals and, little antelope, and these are bush cats. So I think these are young, relatively young. And when they're young, they eat fruit. And then as they get older, they add protein to their diet. So they were showing me their teeth. They were just like peeling back. Like, see, they have really nice teeth. Yeah, I wouldn't want to be bit by them. This is what we did Sunday afternoon. We designed the desk. And very simple. He wanted it as simple as possible. He says, I want it to be rock solid. So we came up with some ideas like every joint's going to be double lapped, and then we bought special, it's not special glue, it's PUR, polyurethane glue, that we use here all the time. It's kind of like Gorilla Glue, but they don't use that there. They use like Elmer's. And so you get Elmer's in that humidity and that the wet wood. The wood is really wet. It's just going to come apart. So I said, you need to have something that's going to bond with that moisture. So we did all that and made it real simple so that they get it. And that was fun. Next morning, we have Bible study again. This is their startup plan. This was impressive to me. This is only the first page. But if you look at what they're doing, we've got to get contracts for all these people. We've got to get the curriculum set up for all these classes. We've got to get the rentals for all these people and all these places, classrooms as well as teachers. We've got to get sponsorship for the students. They've got classrooms set up, what they need for desks repaired, all these things. Susie and Don do all of that, manage all of that. They're managing a mid-sized corporation. They have over 100 employees working for them. And their payday, they don't do anything via ATM. They have piles of cash. It comes in black plastic bags. And they take a brick and say, this brick goes to Fairview principal so he can pay the year's expenses. This brick goes to the church so they can pay. So they're pretty basic. There's no electronic transfers over there. We're on the road out to Denta. Got out to Denta, see some of the kids. These are the ducklings, Susie calls them, the little kids that hang out in the village all day long while the adults are out. The kids are out there. They all came, of course, the white guy, they got to see him. They just, literally they're feeling you. Like, I had some of the little kids just sit there and keep rubbing me and poking my skin. Like, that's really weird looking. So, when I went to the school later, I had kids cry when they saw me. So there were some that were just turn around and run away. So I don't know. I know it wasn't my hair because I don't have any hair. So little guys, this is a kindergarten class. They have 30 students, and that is the class. They straighten out the desk, but that's it. This is where they put 30 students, and they have class in there. The tin roof was not Darryl engineered for coolness, so it was toasty in there. They leave the door open, the window open, but it's a mud hut. The mud has thermal mass. The sun's baking it, so it's basically getting hot. The mud's getting hot. The tin roof is getting hot, and you got 30 kids in there. I can't imagine. And there's two guys that teach these 30 kids, and they were just all excited to have these kids there. They were like, that was one of the neatest things, to see the hearts of these guys that are teachers. So here we are at M1014 checking in. Somebody wasn't real happy about having to lay on the scale, but they weigh them, they check their temperature, they just do a general health check, and then talk to the moms and I'm going to connect. Am I aiming this wrong or something, Lisa? Okay, so I should slap it a couple times. So this is the crew that was there. This is the graduation bag. So she was graduating and she was graduating. So they graduate when they reach 18 months or are weaned, and some of them aren't weaned till they're 2.5 because they're so malnourished. But roughly around 18 months, when they gain up to average weight and are weaned, then they get them off the program. So they were graduating, and that's a really cool time because that means that they're healthy, they're strong, they've recovered, and so that's a fun time. I did a quick visit to the local health center to get an idea of how they lay things out because I'm designing a health center. Totally different than what we do here. I have plans for the hospital up here. So I have those on my computer. I'm like, oh, yeah, you need, and they go, no, we don't need that much stuff. We put, in the space that I had allocated for one bed, they had 4. So I was kind of having to readjust my thoughts. So went up to the health center just to take a look and see what we were doing. That was just a break. They had early Christmas, set up their Christmas tree. I didn't get all the pictures, but the whole family got involved. It was a lot of fun. They took about 2 hours to just have fun decorating this tree plus a Charlie Brown tree that had no greenery on it at all, just a bunch of sticks, and they decorated that and had fun with that, and they put that on top of the refrigerator. Next morning, Bible study again. And this one, I took a picture. This is people. They're in the midst of the Bible study, and people just come out of the trees, walking up. And, I saw that, and I just felt like this is what it probably looked like when Jesus was teaching. People were just gathering, coming to listen, and more people were coming, carrying their babies, setting them down, and they said, the kids are quiet. The kids are quiet. I mean, that's apparently, you don't make noise as a kid there. But anyway, that was interesting. Then we got into traffic because we were heading to Monrovia, the 4-hour drive into the capital city so that we could see the hospital. We visited the hospital. This is Elwha. It's arguably the largest, depending on which department you look at, but in the country. So Elwha is one of the largest. There's 2 basically national hospitals, and this is one of them. The clinic that we're designing is as big or bigger than the clinic that they have here. So it will be one of the biggest ones in the country. The doctor lives right across the street, so we went out to see his place. There's the ocean, palm trees on the white sand beach. I didn't spend any time there. We had other things to do, but spend 6 hours in this. We spent almost 4 hours just trying to get out of Monrovia because of this. The picture that I show you right here, we were taking off from there in Monrovia. It's only like 8 miles out of Monrovia. This is less than 8 miles later. We haven't even got out of town. It's dark. That's what the traffic is like. It is insane. See how much space is right there? They were closing each other off, and then if they moved this way, the motorcycles would go that way. Then they'd cut in front of these guys. If they left 18 inches, a motorcyclist would go across, dragging their handlebars across their hood and go. It was insane. 4, 5, 6 people on a motorcycle. If you own a motorcycle, you're a taxi. It's just a given. So if you see a motorcycle, you just put your hand up and they'll pull over. The cars are, anybody that's got wheels is a driver, a taxi driver. And so they'll have somebody, kids walking on the street will see a car. I don't know, they have some kind of signal that they have room. I think, they wave their arm some way. So anyway, so the driver's waving his arm. He's on the wrong side of this. He's over here. He's on the right side driving. But so he'll... And I was like, what is that kid doing? And then he'll jump on the bumper, and then he'll see somebody up ahead because people just stand there. And they're identifying them, and they're waving them down. Right here, I got one. It's insane. And of course, then the guy that's hawking is going to make sure that his guy gets to pick up that guy. So he'll run ahead and block other people out of the way. They're literally standing in front of the cars that are trying to get to him so that their guy can get there. It's crazy. And that's just one dimension of the traffic insanity that you're dealing with. You're looking at this right here, and all of a sudden there'll be a car coming the other way, right through that traffic. They're like, beep, 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 beep. They just come moving through the wrong direction. It's third world country driving. I enjoy it because it's such a challenge, but I don't know. Anyway, so I let it go to sleep again, Lisa, sorry. This one right here was a special sauce that he made for the visitor. It was actually really good. I did not find anything that they had that was too hot to eat. Their hot is probably standard Mexican hot. They do have some really, really hot stuff, but I didn't find any of that. So overall, I like their spicy stuff. It was really fun to try these things out. Not a lot of meat, a lot of veggies, and a lot of cooked greens that they spice up. It's not just like Mom's boiled spinach. It looks like Mom's boiled spinach, but it tastes a whole lot better. So I'm going to talk to my mom about that. Mom, she's eating a lot better now. She's up in heaven. So this is, remember I showed you the, what do you call it, the clinic with that little plywood hut. This is the outside of the clinic. Guess what? Fire ants. And I was like, do you do anything about it? I said, no, just avoid them. They're all over the place. Don't sit over there. This is a little snake they got. There was a head there, but he was in the house right there. So there's their front door. You go in the front door over here. Their daughter was walking over here, and the dog, I think it was the dog that spotted the snake. So their animals are their guards, which, if you recall, where I was sleeping, I was surrounded by birds. And reptiles, snakes in particular, do not like birds because birds have feathers, and snakes aren't very effective on feathers. Poison doesn't bother feathers. And so the birds will kill even big cobras. They'll drive them away. So I was surrounded by a good vanguard. I hadn't realized that. I was okay with stepping in duck doo-doo after that. Like, oh, okay, I don't have to worry about all those snakes and stuff. This is Simeon driving me out to Denta Town. He's their construction coordinator. He was doing the housing for all the teachers, putting everything together. So this is one of the places they're renting from the people who live there, who have built these mud huts. They'll rent out a room. So now I was moving this button and it went to sleep on me. I don't know. Thank you, Elisa. Yeah, so that's the doorway that we were just looking at right here. You go inside. This is the hallway. Nice, smooth, clean hallway. Just sweep the mud up on the side of the wall, right? And then kind of frame a door in the mud. Whoops. That right there, I didn't take the picture, but I got a picture. I have to stand like this because that's not 6 foot. It's about 5, maybe 5'8". So, yep, nice clean mud floor. You'll notice it's polished. Wednesday morning men's group. So I got to meet him out in the village. He was out in the banana bushes, I guess. They just grow wild. The banana trees, the coconuts, everything. All these fruit trees are just all over the place. So he froze my clicker again, Lisa, sorry. So this is the school, and then right on the other side of the school, they're just putting the school out in Denta. So the school is just under 8,000 square feet, so equivalent to, in construction, to the clinic that we're putting together. Right across the street is rubber plantation, rubber soccer ball. That was all right. But anyway, so they have all that. Yep, I need to go again, Lisa. Oops, sorry. This is rice. This is the red peppers. This was prepping for something. But anyway, they go out into the bush and get all this stuff. They're growing the rice in the swamps around them. So the church on Sunday, this is Simeon, my guide, my motorcycle driver. He's the MC at the local church. So this is the adult choir. Lisa, this is the youth choir. We can work on that. They were awesome. This is Dawn and family in their morning devotions, and this is the morning when they were doing signing. So this is Dawn. He's the one that's deaf. So this young lady, is his older sister, I guess. She signs for anything and everything. Wherever he's at, she's signing. And it was amazing to me just to watch how cognizant she was of him needing interpretation. She would just walk up and keep him going. Here's the sample desk that we got. This one's maybe 25 pounds. This one's probably about 70. Wet wood. So we rejected that one. We told them we're not doing that one. So this is my buddy in the shower. He's not nearly that big, but he was probably 4 inches, 3.5, 4 inches in diameter, the leg span there. And when I went in to go in the shower, I had a clear kind of shower curtain. I reached up to grab the shower curtain, didn't notice he was right there. Scared the daylights out of me. I grabbed that, and by the time I pulled my hand away, he was down and across and on the other wall. Faster than lightning, man. I was just like, oh, man, I'm glad he wasn't coming after me because he'd have had me. This is Banga School. I went through all the classes. I didn't bring you all the pictures, but I did get pictures of every class. And these are the kids, and this is the ones where they would stand up and say, "Good morning, sir. How are you today?" "I'm fine. How are you?" "We are fine, thank you." It was an interesting discipline. They did it in chorus. Every class, very consistent. So it was interesting to see the discipline there. This is the crew going out to Denta. These guys, neat hearts. They're excited to teach these kids. They're excited that they're getting an opportunity. Some of the guys, this guy right here can't read. He's teaching kindergarten because he can't read. But he's excited because he gets to teach the kindergartners how to read. So he's literally learning his letters so he can teach the kindergartners letters. It was just cool to see their energy and their desire to do things. This is the crew that met me out there. This is the town meeting. Don sitting down. So this is, this is the chief right here. This is his senior advisor. So I was sitting behind kind of the city council group, and the rest of the village is over on this other wing, and then the kids are all outside. I had a couple kids sitting next to me, but for the most part, this was kind of the senior thing. So this is Simeon translating into the local dialect the national language in both Liberia and Uganda is English. So I could communicate, but I guarantee you their English ain't my English. It was interesting. And then being hard of hearing was another challenge, because a lot of those guys, in Uganda especially, these guys actually had a little more intonation in their voices, but the guys in Uganda were very muted, very quiet. I'm going to need some help here, Lisa. So this is going away breakfast. The boys it was a boys' day out. The girls all stayed home. The boys came into town because we had to come in the night before, spend the night, get my COVID test, and then spend the day, and then I took off the next morning. So they got 2 nights in the hotel. That was pretty exciting for the boys. So, whoops. AB's my buddy. He was a lot of fun. It's just a neat time with these guys, getting to do. We had a little debate. He's 18 and he's going to be graduating from homeschool this year, and he's looking at going to university, and university means the U.S. And so his parents are having a tough time because they have lived 24/7, 365 together all of his life, so it's the separation anxiety on the parents' side. Spent a lot of time talking with Don and Mel about that. It was fun, but anyway, so it was great. We got to have a good time talking. This is my crew in Uganda. So I just kind of skipped over going to Uganda. I flew into Uganda, and this is the crew. So it's Stuart and King, and this is our hostess, really. She's the, not the chief, she's the assistant chief operating officer of EMI office. So we were together. We were the crew that was getting to see what EMI does. So they took us through, this is their facility, their shop, their workshop. So they do wood, metal, all kinds of building stuff there. This guy runs a ministry for deaf people to give them skills. So he trains, this year he's got 7 of them going that are all deaf guys, and he's teaching them trade, metal and woodworking. And so that's their 1 to 3 year program, depending on what they're going to. So that's his ministry, his vision, and I got to spend 2 days with him. That was a lot of fun. This is their civil engineering crew here. This is Stuart. This young lady was visiting this young lady, so she just came along on our tours to see what we were learning. This is the structural engineer, Adam. I'm in daily contact with him even now as I'm working on the projects that I'm working on, so I can help, and we can bat ideas back and forth on how to solve things in third world countries. This is Jim, one of the ministries where they did all the design work for these structures, and it's fairly similar actually to what Hope for Home and His Safe Haven are doing. I think they have 4 homes, 4 special needs homes. They have 90 acres. They have 90 acres, and they have 4 special needs homes on them. So it's significantly higher budget and different perspective, I guess. His Safe Haven has 6 homes, and they have 3 more coming, and they'll all be on about 2.5 acres. So it's a significantly different scale. This is part of their 90 acres. It's just all the greenery. They're doing the self-sufficient farming kind of thing so that they can grow stuff and then teach the kids skills and how to farm animals and stuff like that. Went back to EMI, and this is their solar kiln and what they're doing there. Daniel is the head of R&D, is working on, without having power in a lot of places, they get this wet wood like we were dealing with the desk, and so they got to dry them out before they're structurally sound. So they're trying to figure out a way to do that in volume. This is a small scale version of what they're wanting to do. Went out to Cherish Health Center. Their big thing is HIV. So they deal with HIV positive kids and families and provide a lot of the medical needs and support for that. With COVID, they were shut down. They had to close everything down. They weren't allowed to do anything. So they're just getting back up and going with the COVID constraints in place and they're doing a lot of their ministry right now in the homes. And so the whole campus that we were at was empty. We were just looking at the design things and what we're doing there. This is the peacock palm, according to Darryl anyway. It's actually called the traveler's palm or something like that. But I just thought it was interesting. They had several of them, and they actually, it was part of their landscape theme. They used these in key points around their facility. So we got back, and this is Solo. Solo is the only person who does surveying. So Solo is the solo surveyor. And she's a solo surveyor worldwide. She's the only surveyor EMI has on staff. I thought that was kind of funny. But she gets all the cool toys. So she's got lasers and she's got drones, and so we got to go play with her drone and take some videos and do some mapping. And then she had us over for dinner. This is one of the architect interns. So our thing happens only 2 to 3 days out of the year. We just happened to be there on the 2 to 3 days that it happened. And it was amazing. They're just everywhere. So what you see right here is basically galvanized roofing set vertically into open barrels. And they put the lights up, the grasshoppers fly to the lights, and then they want to land, they hit the side of that, and the guys just hit the metal and knock all the grasshoppers down in the barrels, and then they cook them. They cook them dry because they have so much fat in them that they're dripping when they get done cooking. So it's really they strip off the legs and the wings, and so you just have the body and this little tail thing, and it's all edible. You know, you deep fry it. It's deep fried in its own fat, right? So really good. This is the R&D crew. We sat down the final day and just brainstormed with them how to develop more support for R&D, because it's kind of behind the scenes. You're doing research and development, improving the process, but it's not saving little starving kids or getting water for somebody. It's the background on how you do that. You're researching and how to put in a well, but that doesn't sell as well as when you show people pouring water. You know, just R&D. So we spent probably about 4 hours with them brainstorming just on the marketing, and we spent the first part of the day going over their vision statement and what they're doing and the products that they've done, and then got to see help them with the vision statement. We got to go to this is Daniel's family. They had us over for Thanksgiving dinner, so that was fun. I had to take one of these. There's just so many crazy things on motorcycles. This wasn't the craziest thing I saw, but I was like, I didn't ever get a picture or anything, so I just got this guy. It's like a washing machine on the back of his motorcycle. I saw 4 or 5 people at a time on there. I saw one guy, I had to double take. So the motorcycle driver's going like this, and the other guy's sitting way back. And then I look, in his lap, there's 3 goats. laid across his lap, and he's holding their head down on this side and the hindquarters down on this side. And the goats are like, oh, I mean, you saw chickens in cages and you name it, they had it going. You'd see a full king-size bed assembled on the back of a motorcycle. It's sitting like 7 feet wide, driving through traffic with the entire bed. I was like, you could take it apart. Why didn't you? Nope, just driving down through traffic. Well, I was waiting for him to hit somebody. Everybody avoided it. This is part of the jungle that we drove through. We were heading off to Amazima. Does anybody heard of Amazima? It's Kisses from Kate, Katie Davis. Back in about 2006, 2009, she wrote a book, Kisses from Katie. She was an 18-year-old that went over to Africa, saw the displaced kids starving and living in the dump, and went in to help them. She ended up adopting, I think, 12 kids at 19 years old. Her parents tried to get her to come back to the States, and she said, nope, I'm not coming back. I'm staying with these kids. So she started a ministry over there. So we went over to see the ministry, and now, 12 years later, 10 years later, they have a huge campus. Millions of dollars going into that facility. And so EMI is the primary design build contractor for all their work. They did a lot of stuff. This is Stuart. He and his wife were house parents for these young men at the Amazima school. So these are the kids that they took care of, and they were there for 2 years. Their term is ending, and that's why he was checking out EMI, because he'd been working with them as a house parent. He graduated with a mechanical engineering degree, but went straight into full-time being a house parent. So now he's trying to go back, hanging out with us and sitting on our laps and poking us and stuff. I ended up having to give her back to Mom, and she was crying and screaming. She did not want to go back to Mom. She wanted to hang out with those white guys. So then we went out to dinner. Notice the nice tile flooring here. That house is, that's a mud floor. Mud walls, brick walls, mixed. So those are handmade bricks that he stacked. He was asking me if he could put a second story in his house. He wanted to, it's like, hey, Darryl, if I did, he wasn't the only one. John was also asking me. So this is Hope. She's the Human Resources Officer for EMI Uganda. That is a cobra skin that she skinned out. She was pretty proud of it. Also, one of her hobbies on the side was skinning out poisonous snakes and eating what she's skinning out, because if they're big enough, they're good to eat, I guess. She did say that she made sure that when they got it to her, that they cut the head off. So that is about 8.5 feet to right there, almost 9 feet, that board. I had my tape measure because I'm an engineer. So I measured it, but almost 9 feet tall, leaning up against the wall there. And there, she said there's another that much with the head missing. So it's close to 10-foot long snake. Yikes. It was got on the EMI campus, right where I was working the whole time. So I spent an extra week there, past what everybody else did in that tour. And God had a plan for that. It was something that I hadn't really even thought about. I didn't know anything about this clinic, but back in June, God laid on my heart, you need to be there an extra week. And so I called them up and I said, can I stay an extra week? And they said, well, if you want to go on a tour or do some kind of safari thing, that's you're on your own. And I said, no, I just want to be with a team for an extra week. Well, we don't do that. So I had to spend time talking them into letting me be there for a week. And they, well, why do you want to do that? And I said, well, I just think I need more time. I didn't really know. And then when I landed there, I've got an 8,000 square foot medical clinic that I'm working on. I've never designed in Uganda before, in Liberia. They have a full team that does all the design work. And I could walk into any one of their offices and ask questions all day long. And so I was their pet project for the week. They just took me in and said, okay, so foundation, you're going to do this when you do the walls. If you're going to do air for this, and lay out the kids for this, and you need this in the desk area. And they just walked me through a whole bunch of stuff. So huge, huge blessing that I never even, God was planning it, I wasn't. So that's the clinic. That's the architect got a hold of the drawing that I had and just started sketching up and saying, well, what about this, and do this, and if you lay this out like this. And so it was just a lot of fun. It has blessed me a ton, just getting to meet all those people, really neat hearts. Some of those guys, I did one-on-one Bible study with several of them, because they have a Bible study every morning, doing group or one-on-one or small group. But there was one, you didn't get to see him. He was an intern that came up to me at lunchtime, and he says, hey, I'd like to hear some more thoughts on this. And so we sat and talked for an hour about the Lord and about where God was taking him in his life and what he was going to do and how he could make those decisions. And the Daniel, the R&D guy, took me aside, and he and I spent hours together just praying, talking about the challenges that he was going through. His daughter had, there was 2 brain tumors, and because of that, the medication, she lost a lot of liver function, and so her blood count was just all messed up, and they were heading back to the States to try and resolve some of that stuff. A beautiful little girl, a little sweetheart, and it just, he's sharing that, and we're praying, and we just really got to touch base on a lot of real life stuff and encourage people in eternity. So that was that. Man, back in Liberia, there was, Simeon was asking me questions about the Lord and about how he could grow and what discipleship looked like, and he wants to disciple. And he was asking if I would disciple him, and I'm like, I'm only here for like a week. So, but he's been texting me, and we've been talking since then. So it's just, God is working all over, and it's just an awesome blessing to be able to be in the mix and see God working. So thanks for your support. Thanks for just hanging out here tonight. Any questions? Anything I could go over or expand on? Most likely going to go back, yes. They're lining me up for, the Liberia team has invited me to come back for the clinic build and help, just kind of guide that. They're offered to pay, so I'll talk to them about that. I have to coordinate what I'm doing with my family, but God's opening doors, and I looking forward to seeing where he takes it. Yeah, that one would actually probably be relatively short, 3 to 6 months to get that done. So we'll see. EMI, their process, I think I was telling some of the guys today, but I kind of come into it backwards. EMI is a volunteer ministry organization, and so if you go join EMI staff, you come on, you generate support, and then you come on with pledge support and hand it to EMI and say, here's my pledge support, and then they'll find some place for you. So then they come in. So you got a bunch of people that are volunteering to come in, and then you're trying to find how you can use this skill and this skill and this skill, put them together and make a cohesive team. So it's kind of an interesting dynamic the way they're working. They have, when I first interacted with them back in 2010, they were EMI US. They have now got a separate office for global, and they have 11 offices in 10 different countries, 2 offices in the US, the global and the US office. So me coming in from the US, they want to, I interviewed, what day is today? Wednesday, yeah. So I interviewed yesterday with EMI to see what their options look like. And I started looking at, I've got to go through an application process, and then they will send it to EMI Global, who will then distribute it to the 10 offices around the world and say who anybody interested in this guy's skill set. So he's telling me that there's plenty of people that are interested in my skill set, so it's a matter of it's got going to affirm in my heart what they're looking for. So yeah, that's the adventure that's out in front of me. Any other thoughts, questions? So COVID, airports are insane. My most entertaining time was in Amsterdam airport. But as far as COVID on the ground, once you get away from the airport, didn't see much of anything. EMI, EMI's chief or assistant chief operations officer was a bit of a Nazi on masks. She wanted you to have masks in the office. And I was a bit of a rebel, so her and I talked a lot about that. But yeah, so it wasn't really a big thing other than, in that particular instance, she came and asked me a couple of times, could you wear a mask? Yeah, I could. Are you saying I should do it like right now? So, but other than that, I didn't wear a mask. Airports and for the chief operating officer. So. Anything else? I didn't hear what you started. What the just. They're pretty. It's somewhat socialistic, and so they, if they can gain from it, they do. There's a lot of battling with regulations, but on the other hand, like in Liberia, so from a technological social interaction scale, Uganda is a little more complex than Liberia. Liberia is a little more brute force and stupidity, and so they have roadblocks made up of a rope with little plastic ties on it. They lay on the road and they pull it up and they have you stop, and then they look at you and decide whether or not they think they can get some money out of you. And if they decide they can't get money out of you, they'll drop the rope. It's pretty much what I figured. Because they would see us, a car full of white guys, and they go, they're not going to pay us. Because you just ask them, okay, what am I paying for? Can I have a receipt? And as soon as you ask for a receipt, for the most part, they're like, on the second hand, why don't you just kind of keep going? So that's kind of the thing you're dealing with, probably one of the more corrupt nations in the world. And so there's corruption is the given. So when we're looking at regulations for this clinic, I called and asked them. They said, well, we're going to go meet with those guys. I says, can I come along? And they go, no, we don't want you in there because that'll sway their response. So we'll just kind of keep you out of it, and then because if an outside American shows up, they see money. And so then all the fees go up, and all the constraints go tighter, so that they have more leverage to get more fees. So they just like to keep the new blood out of sight. So those are kind of some of the realities that they're dealing with from a governmental standpoint. And Uganda is maybe a step less severe than that, but not much. So you don't ask the police for anything. You try and get through things. So yeah, I think that anything else? pictures I should have brought of something, right? Thanks for being here. Appreciate it.